What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If you're stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to my channel. And while you're at it, smash that like button for me. I really would appreciate it. Also, hit that post notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. Be careful down in the comment section of the videos. A lot of spam, a lot of scammers. I will never ask you to contact me by WhatsApp or Telegram. I also do not invest money for my subscribers. So please be careful. Don't get yourself scammed. If you want up to 15 free stocks, Moo is going to give you up to 15 free stocks when you open a new Moo brokerage account. When you put $100 in that brokerage account, they're going to give you 5 free stocks. When you put $1,000 in that brokerage account, they're going to give you 15 free stocks. There's a link down in the description box of this video. Go click on that Moo link. Open up your new Moo account today. Go get that free stock. Go get that free money. $18 trillion in liquid assets. That is a lot of money, guys. That's what they say Americans currently have right now. 18 trillion in liquid assets. Well, I don't believe it's Americans. I believe it's the 1%. The 1% controls the majority of that $18 trillion in liquid assets. So what does liquid assets mean? That means cash. That means marketable securities, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds. Those are marketable securities. Plus cash. Does not include equity in a home. Does not include any of your other assets that are not readily converted to cash. That's what liquid means. You can turn it into cash immediately. Anything you can't turn into cash immediately is not liquid assets, right? Like your home. You can't turn that into cash immediately. It's going to take you 60, 90, 120 days to sell it to turn it into cash. But that $18 trillion, 40% of it, 40%, guys, was acquired over the last 36 months. That's a lot, guys. That's a lot of wealth over a 36-month period. So how did the 1% acquire all this wealth? Well, first of all, let's talk about the 99%. Because see, the article that I read said Americans. But when you dig deeper, the 99% don't control very much of that 18 trillion. Remember, the 99%, we had about 2 trillion 2 years ago in personal savings. Not including anything else, but just personal savings. We had about 2 trillion. And of course, we went through that in about a 2-year period of time. So really that 18 trillion in liquid assets really belongs to the 1%. How did the 1% get all this money? Well, 2020, pandemic broke out. And the 1% through the propaganda machine, the mainstream media, convinced the 99% that the world was coming to an end. So a lot of us stopped buying assets. Matter of fact, we started selling assets, right? We started selling our stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, index funds. We started selling them. And the 1% did what? They started buying. We were selling, they were buying. See, they were buying assets during the pandemic. Do you remember March 2020 when the stock market started like a 35% decline, a 35% crash, a lot of the 99% sold off some of their assets during that time, where the 1%, they were buying them, right? So in 2020, when that decline in the stock market by 35% started, and there was just panic everywhere, the 1% was buying up the assets, buying them up. When people were selling their homes and getting out of real estate, early 2020, when the pandemic broke out, guess who was buying up that real estate? The 1%. They were buying assets left and right. And the way I know that is because when you look at real estate transactions in 2020, a lot of those transactions were cash transactions. I was looking at a property here in Southwest Florida that a gentleman bought, 1%er. He bought a property in November of 2020. He paid about $600,000 for that property. He sold it in 2023 for over $1 million. He made about $400,000 just by buying that property around the pandemic time, where people, because someone sold it. Basically, they fire sold it to get out of it because they thought the world was going to end. 1%, he was a 1%er. He was there. He had the cash. He bought it. He just held it. Sold it 3 years later and made a $400,000 profit. That's how the 1% was able to acquire 40% of that 18 trillion in 3 years, from 2020 to 2023. Right? Now, what has been happening to the 99%? Kind of the opposite. I shared with you guys in last night's live stream that 1.1 million mortgages are 60 days past due. 1.1 million mortgages are 60 days past due. Right? We look at the credit card debt in this country. Obviously, it's through the roof. Here's the thing, guys. Assets are the only thing that's going to save us. See, the 1% know that. In bad times, assets are the only thing save us, right? And the only way we're going to transfer this 18 trillion, or a good portion of that 18 trillion, to the 99% is we're going to have to buy assets. We're going to have to buy assets. Okay, so we talked about 2020. Now let's talk about 2022. Federal Reserve starts increasing short-term interest rates like crazy, right? We already know when interest rates go up, what happens to the stock market? It goes down. See, when interest rates go up, guys, the stock market goes down. And the reason they work opposite of each other is because the stock market is made up of companies. See, most companies borrow money, right? They borrow money to invest in their what? Growth. They borrow money to invest in their growth. So when interest rates go up, that means money becomes more expensive to borrow. So therefore, companies, if it's too expensive to borrow, they don't borrow it. But if they don't borrow money to invest in their growth, they don't grow. So in 2022, when the Federal Reserve started increasing short-term interest rates, money became very expensive to borrow. Companies stopped borrowing. Companies' value did what? Their value goes down. If their value goes down, their stock price goes down, right? When their stock price goes down, they become a discounted stock, basically. Now, the 1% know that. So what did they do in 2022 when the stock market tumbled again? Just like it did, it wasn't as worse as it was in 2020, but it was a negative year. It was a negative year for the stock market in 2022. All of our major companies, all of our major ETFs, all of our major investments and paper assets were on sale. What did the 1% do though? They started buying. The 1% started buying in 2022. A lot of the 99%, we sold. We thought, hey, we're going to lose it all. We got to sell this stuff. Where did we get that thought process? From the media, right? See, the 1% controls the mainstream media. This is how they manipulate the 99%. So every talk show, every financial show in 22 was talking about how bad things are. When we hear that, as a retail investor, as a 99%er, since no one has really taught us how this economy works, no one has really taught us how this real financial system works in our country, when we hear these so-called experts telling us the stock market is going to trade at a negative this year, hey, get out of it, cut your losses, get back in when it gets better, we listen. See, the 1%, they want us to sell when we really should be buying. They want us to buy when we really should be selling. That's how the 1% manipulate us. That's how they manipulated us in 2020. That's how they manipulated us in 2022. They manipulated a lot of 99%ers in 2022 when the market was terrible. I was telling you guys on the YouTube channel, guys, this is a great opportunity to buy because these companies are discounted. I was saying all year long, guys, it won't last. These companies are going to start going back up at some point. So from 2020, 2022, 2023, 3 years now, they acquired 40% of $18 trillion in liquid assets. And that's what they use. They used the stock market to do it. They used it in 2020 and they used it in 2022. Right? So fast forward to 2023. Right? They bought all these assets in 2022. What do? They hold them. What happens to the stock market in the last 2 months of 2023? It goes on a 9-week run. One of the greatest runs in the history of the stock market. 9 weeks, guys. And these people, these 1%ers, made out like a bandit. They made out like a bandit. And then what did they do? They waited until January of 2024. First week of January 2024. What did they do? They started taking some of their profits off the table. That's why you saw the stock market dip in January, the first week of January, because these 1%ers, they were selling. They were taking profits. Remember, they had already acquired a boatload of assets, paper assets in 2022, cheap. They got them on the cheap. They got them on the cheap. And they just waited. Guess what they started doing in the end of 2023? Propaganda machines started back up and saying, okay, time to buy, time to buy. Triggered a 9-week run. Right? And then what did they do? They started dumping things in January, first week of January. Now, where we sit today, there's another opportunity for another run. What's going to push us into another run in the stock market? The Federal Reserve. Interest rates. See, when interest rates, let's get back to those interest rates again. I keep telling you guys, there's a correlation between interest rates and the stock market. When interest rates start coming down, guess what's going to happen to the stock market? It's going to go up. Well, Richard, interest rates are still super high right now. Why is the stock market doing so well? Well, the stock market is doing so well right now because of anticipation. It's just euphoria. It's anticipation. See, investors ain't stupid, guys. They know the Fed got to reduce interest rates at some point. They know this. They know they got to reduce these interest rates this year. So investors are just positioning themselves buying now, even though we think, oh, we're at the height of the market. It'll never go higher than this. I can't buy right now. See, that's the 99% thinking. 1% don't think that way. 1% know it's going to go higher. It's going to have to. Because when they start reducing those rates, stock market is going to go higher, guys. S&P 500 already hit 5,000 points, guys, in February. It already hit 5,000 points. They haven't even started reducing interest rates yet. What do you think it's going to do when they start reducing these short-term interest rates? I've already told you guys, the S&P 500 by many analysts have already predicted the S&P to go to 5,500 points this year. 5,500 points, guys. You already got the NASDAQ in 2023 had a 40% ROI. The NASDAQ. I'm telling you guys, we can transfer this 18 trillion in liquid assets. We can transfer that wealth to us. But we got to get smart. We got to start buying assets. We cannot continue to sit on the sideline and be manipulated. That's why every day I'm telling you guys, get you a brokerage account. Get you some money in that brokerage account. Start buying these assets. What are you waiting on? Stop being manipulated by the mainstream media. They're controlled by the 1%. Who in the world you think own all of these gigantic broadcasting networks? We don't own them. The 1% owns them. So if I own something and you're my employee, what do you think you're going to say? You're going to say what I tell you to say. It's my company. Right? So all I'm telling you guys is we have to put ourselves in a position to take back this 18 trillion. The 1% ain't going to give it to us freely. We're going to have to start investing. We're going to have to start seriously investing, putting our money where our mouth is. We got to stop letting these guys manipulate us. They've done it for almost 4 years now. Almost 4 years. Our personal saving goes down, but their liquidity goes up. How in the world can the 99% personal savings go down almost to zero from 2 trillion, but theirs go up? How? How can that happen? Well, it's happening because we are buying stuff that we don't need. We're spending money that we should be investing. But yet and still, we're spending money on big houses. We're spending money on cars. We're spending money on trips. I told you guys 1.1 million mortgages are 60 days past due. Why is that? Because people bought too much house. That's why. And guess who benefited from it? The 1%. Who do you think was selling that real estate in 2021, 2020, 2022? Who you think was selling the real estate? It was the 1%. And who were they selling it to? The 99%. Now all of a sudden, we stuck with it. 1.1 million mortgages, 60 days past due. delinquent. People can't make their payments. That's not the 1%. I guarantee you it's the 99%. Because see, the 1% sold their real estate. Right? They sold some real estate to the 99%. And why did the 99% fall for the trap? Because we had low interest rates in 2021 and part of 22, we had low interest rates. Remember, in 2021, you could have got an interest rate locked in for 30 years under 3% in 2021. A lot of that wealth transfer happened then because the 1% was selling real estate to the 99%. And the way they got them was the low interest rates. See, a lot of people got fooled by the low interest rates. What was happening, though, was even though you had low interest rates, home prices were going up fast. So what people did was they stretched themselves. Okay, yeah, that's probably too much house for me, but you know something? I can afford the payment because the rate's under 3%. Like I said last night in the live stream, what people didn't realize and didn't count on was other things were going to go up, right? They had locked in principal and interest at the low interest rate. But their taxes, their insurance, food costs, transportation costs, all that stuff went up. All that stuff went up. And then all of a sudden now, you can't afford to make the mortgage payment. See, the problem is when you bought that property, your taxes, your real estate taxes were lower. Your real estate taxes were lower. Your insurance to cover that house was lower in 2021, 2022. All that stuff was lower. But when inflation kicked in, nobody saw that coming. See, the 99% didn't see it coming, but the 1% saw it coming. See, the 99% didn't see inflation coming. We were too busy spending. We had no clue inflation was going up. But what happened was it went up, right? Insurance went up, property taxes went up, food costs went up, energy went up, transportation went up. All of that stuff went up in 22. So now all of a sudden you got this P&I mortgage payment through the roof, plus you got to pay double now for property taxes. You got to pay double for homeowners insurance. And now when you put in principal and interest, taxes and insurance, and you add all of that together now, they can't afford to make the mortgage payment. But when they took the loan out back in 21, early 22, when rates were still dirt cheap, property taxes were less expensive. Homeowners insurance was less expensive. Food costs were less expensive. Transportation was less expensive. All that stuff didn't start going up, guys, until 2022. And then all of a sudden you get to 2023, your insurance costs have doubled. Pretty much your property taxes have almost doubled. You know what's happened to food. You know what's happened to transportation, right? All that stuff has went up, guys. And now people don't have enough money to cover it all. They don't have enough money to cover it all. That's just the way it is. See, when you bought that expensive house, you reset the property tax, what they call the millage rate. At least down here in Florida where I live, they call it the millage rate. When you buy that expensive house, it sort of lags though. It don't kick in immediately, right? It's like a year. And then all of a sudden your property taxes go up. What the heck happened to my property taxes? You could be living right here across the street. Your neighbor across the street could have a tax bill half the size of your tax bill, depending upon when you bought. Now, if they bought before the pandemic and they just rolled it out and sat there, and then all of a sudden you come in and buy in 21, 22, 23, your taxes are going to be much higher than your neighbor across the street. People didn't see, but a lot of people didn't think about that. They didn't think about them escrows. See, them escrows go up, boy, them taxes go up. The bank want their money because they got to pay the taxes. People didn't plan for that. Oh my God. You mean to tell me instead of, $500 a month for taxes, I got to save $1,000 a month now? Oh, instead of having to save, $300 for homeowners insurance, I gotta have $600 a month. Think about it, guys. You got a $400,000 loan. When you think about them property taxes, it ain't cheap. Even though you got this really, really low interest rate, that's your fixed costs. Your variable costs are your property taxes, your insurance, repair and maintenance, HOA fees. All of that stuff are variable costs. They can go up and down through the life of your loan. They can just continue to go up. Your payment won't go up because you got a fixed rate. That'll stay the same. But them other costs associated with your mortgage, with your home, they're variable costs. They can go up and down, guys. Right now, they're up. They're up. So my point is, the 1% dumped a lot of real estate on the 99%. Just tricked us. They just tricked us. They just tricked us. They tricked us with low interest rates. And we fell for it. They dumped all their real estate on it, and guess what they did? They took the cash and added it to their what? Liquid assets. See, I told you guys, real estate ain't liquid assets because it's not liquid. You can't readily turn it into cash quickly. Takes you 30, 40, 60, 90, 120 days to turn it into cash. 1% turn a lot of their real estate into cash. A lot of these people who had 8-unit apartment complexes, 10-unit apartment complex, even the big boy apartment complexes, 500, 750, 1,000 doors. Them 1%ers, they sold that stuff, man. At the height, 2022, they sold that stuff. Took the cash, and now they're waiting. They took the cash, put some of it in the stock market in 22, buying paper assets at a deep discount because they know how the stock market works. What goes down, guys, must come back up in the stock market. That's the fundamental rule. A lot of us as 99%ers don't know that, though. We think, oh my God, it's crashing. It'll never recover. Come on, guys. Stock market been around 100 years. Show me one time it never recovered. It recovered from the 1929 depression. It recovered from that. It recovered from the 2008 great financial crisis. Everybody said real estate would never come back from that. Real estate will never be the same again. Okay, 15 years later, I guess something happened because it's better. It's more expensive than it was in 2008. Right now, it's more expensive than it was then, prior to the great financial crisis. It's more expensive now. My point is this. If you want to transfer this wealth in 2024, 2025, for the next 10 years, you got to get in the game. There is no wealth that will be transferred to you while you're sitting on the sideline. It's not. You can't have wealth transferred to you guys sitting on the sideline. Do you think the 1% is sitting on the sideline? What do you think the 1% is doing right now? Right now, with that 18 trillion. What do you think they're doing? I'm just curious. What do you guys think the 1% is doing with that $18 trillion in liquid assets? Have you seen the stock market lately? That's one thing they're doing with it. Buying paper assets to positioning themselves for this next run that's getting ready to happen. See, I learned from the 1%. That's why in early February, I went ahead and put a large chunk of money in FTEC. Yep, sure did. Because I know it's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming. It has to. See, I just follow the 1%. They lead you right to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The 1% will lead you there. Why? Because they control our financial system. We don't control it. The 1% controls our financial system. So all you got to do is learn how to follow them and see what they do. I'm telling you that $18 trillion is not sitting on the sideline. It's starting to be invested again. Now, don't get me wrong. 6 trillion or so are probably in money markets, but I ain't mad at them because some of them are getting 4 to 5% in the money market. So some of that 18 trillion, 5 to 6 trillion is sitting in money markets. But the rest of it is getting ready to be deployed. Another thing they're positioning themselves for is if there continues to be a increase in mortgage payment delinquencies, the 1% is waiting on that too. Because remember, they dumped all their real estate on the 99% at the cheap interest rates. They dumped that real estate on us at the high prices with the cheap interest rate. That's how they got us. Oh, I know it doubled in price, but golly, I could get a 3% interest rate. I'm all in. They dumped their real estate on us. But now what they're getting ready to do is buy it back from us. They're going to buy it back from us. They're going to either buy it back from us through a forced sale by the lender. They're going to buy it back through a forced sale by the lender or foreclosure by the lender. And then the lender is going to sell it dirt cheap to them. Because remember what I told y'all last night. Banks are not in business to own single family homes, guys. They're not in business to own residential real estate. Now, they may own commercial real estate, right? But they're not in business to own little single family homes. They're not in business to do that. So what happens is when you get to a point where you can't make your loan payment and the bank is giving you every opportunity to right size it and you just can't afford it no more, they're going to take the property from you. And all the bank wants to get is what's owed to them. So all that equity that you potentially have, they don't care about that. All they want to do is get their loan paid off. Whatever principal is left on their loan and the interest that's due, most banks just want that. And they'll sell the property. And a lot of 1%ers are going to wait on that. And they're going to buy them properties back for, I don't know, 70% on the dollar maybe 60% on the dollar. I don't know. I'm just telling you what they're positioning themselves. That's why they got so much money in liquidity. They're waiting. They're waiting for this real estate thing to happen. Because they can see that the mortgage payment delinquencies are starting to move again. They're starting to move. So they're saying, okay, at some point, there may be an event. I got to have some cash ready to go. So that 6 trillion they got sitting in money market accounts, a lot of that 6 trillion will be deployed to buy real estate cheap. A lot of y'all think, well, prices are too high. They're not going to buy. No, because if the bank got to foreclose, the bank ain't going to get market rate for it. They know that. No one is going to give a bank market rate for a foreclosed property. They're going to get wholesale rate. And the bank is fine with that wholesale rate. They're not trying to get market. They're trying to get wholesale so they can get out of it because they're not in the business of having a bunch of single family home residential properties on their balance sheet. They're not in the business to do that. Right? So they'll be more than willing to sell them wholesale to the 1%, and then the 1% going to turn around, put tenants in them, and then at some point sell them for retail again, just like they've been doing for 50 years to the 99%. They've been doing it for 50 years. You already know that these large Wall Street hedge funds, they have what they call renter communities. 500,000 single family homes that they've had built for them. And they rent them all right now. Yeah, Wall Street hedge funds, Wall Street institutional investors, they own these renter communities across the country where they've had these national builders go in and build these cookie cutter 3-2 single family homes, brand new, and they got all renters in them. What do you think they're going to do with those properties at some point? They're going to turn around and sell them at some point and make a lot of money. They're already making a lot of money renting them, right? Because they build them in bulk. right? They go to the builder and say, look, we want 1,000 of these things. Now you got scale. So if a builder says, oh shoot, I can do 1,000 of these things, I can drastically reduce my cost. Sure, I can give you a discount on them. If you're going to do 1,000, now you got the economies of scale, right? If I got 1,000 new home subdivision going in, I can go to my concrete supplier. I can go to my wood supplier. I can go to my, whatever supplier, cabinet supplier, right? I can go to those people with 1,000, homes I'm getting ready to sell, and I can get discounts. So I'm gonna tell you something. National builders love that because they make their money off scale. They make their money off scale. Same product, but 1,000 of them. That's how these national builders make money. You don't see no national builders around here trying to do no custom house because they don't make no money off that. They make money off scale. 1 or 2 or 3 designs, but you do 1,000, 2,000 of those 1 or 2 designs. That's how they make their money. So these institutional investors, these hedge funds, and I count those guys in the 1%, by the way. I count them in the 1% because the money that they're managing, who do you think it belongs to? The 1%. So I count them as the 1%. But that's what's happening with real estate. So if you look out there, you'll see these I see them all around here where I live. And it's something fishy because where they're building them at is not like in the prime location. It's like on a busy street. They're all the same. They're just cookie cutter, all the same on a busy street. But that's what they're doing. See, these people ain't dumb, man. They're not dumb. The 1% are not dumb. They know what they're doing. They're doing these renter communities all over the country, guys. Why? Because at some point they want to monopolize the residential real estate market. They're going to own it. They're going to own it. Or at least they're going to try to. Now they control prices. Now they control rent. Just telling you guys, this is what's happening here, right? How do we protect ourselves from that? You got to build assets, man. You got to build assets. You got to stop spending money making the 1% wealthy. Redirect that money and make you wealthy. That's how you take that 18 trillion. We can, but we got to do it through assets. We got to do it through investing. If you have not started investing in 2024, what are you waiting on? For some reason, we think we got to have all this knowledge. I know that's what a lot of people are saying. I don't know nothing yet. I don't know nothing. I got to know more. Know more about what? What are you trying to learn? Are you trying to learn what an ETF is? Are you trying to learn what an individual stock is? That's pretty simple. Just go to Google and tell me what is an individual stock. What is an ETF? It'll tell you exactly what it is. But see, a lot of people are fearful. Why? Because they don't have any history with investing. They don't have any history of their family investing. So they're scared. They have no history with it. They've probably heard somebody say you can lose all your money in the stock market. They've probably heard somebody say that. And is that a possibility? Absolutely. It's a possibility. But I know another million ways you can lose all your money. It ain't just the stock market. You can lose all your money in real estate. You can lose all your money going down to buy lottery tickets every week thinking you're going to hit the Powerball. You lose money that way. There's a million ways, guys, you can lose your money. I mean, it ain't just the stock market. But with my experience, from what I've experienced with the stock market, if you pick the right investments and you get in the thing for the long term, you make money. At least I did. I'm no smarter than nobody else on this live or watching this video. No smarter. I just follow the 1%. I just learned how this financial system works. I just follow them. Whatever they do, I do. I'm a 99%er, but I just follow them because I know they run the country. They control the financial system in this country. They control everything in this country. The 1% does. I just follow them. I know they're buying right now. So I'm buying. Because I know they know interest rates got to come down this year. I don't know how far it'll come down, but it's coming down. The Fed reducing some rates this year. 2024 will not pass by without the Fed reducing rates, guys. So if you're sitting around thinking about, I'm just going to sit here and wait, maybe they'll do it next week. No, just get in. See, in the market is better than just trying to time the market, right? Just get in. Just take a certain amount of money. Number one, open your brokerage account. Certain amount of money, right? Every single month. The right investments, patience. That's it. Brokerage account, money in the brokerage account, buy assets, be patient. Do those 4 things. We can take this 18 trillion and transfer it to us. We can transfer that 18 trillion to us if we do those 4 steps. Brokerage account, put money in the brokerage account on a consistent basis. Right? Buy the right assets, be patient. We got a hard time with the patience piece though. Why? Because that's how we've been taught. We've been taught since birth not to be patient. I want it right now, right? We just like a little baby, right? These little babies, they ain't got no patience. When that little baby wants some milk, that little baby wants some food, they gonna cry. They're gonna cry and cry and cry and cry until they get it. That's how we are sometimes as adults. We just like that, right? We got no patience. So we just cry and cry and cry until we get it. But most of the time when we do that, we're making somebody else wealthy. That's what we're doing. That's how the 1% tricked us in 2021 with real estate. They tricked us like that in 2022, or at least the first half, when those rates were low. They tricked us. They dumped all the real estate on us at these inflated prices. They did. That's the only way I can explain it to you guys. They tricked us. So now, a lot of us 1%ers are sitting here with low interest rates, but gigantic mortgage payments. I didn't believe my mortgage payment could go up that high. Well, yeah, because your taxes double, your insurance double. What do you think was going to happen? Right? Those variable costs doubled. And they add that onto the payment, which increases the payment, right? So all I can tell you guys is if you want to transfer this wealth, if you want to get yourself in a position where you can have some of this 18 trillion in your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, you better get yourself to buying some assets. You better get your brokerage account, or if you got one, you better dust it off. Dust the cobwebs off of it. Put you some money in it, and look for assets to buy. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now that it can happen, but it's up to you. No one is going to do it for you. You're gonna have to do it. The 1% is not gonna give you any tips, guys. They're not gonna give you no tips. They want you to be sitting on the sidelines, scared to death, and all you do is buy stuff from them to make them wealthy. That's all they want you to do. They do not want you to invest in no assets and get a feel for, real freedom. See, real freedom is when you have assets that generate income to take care of you. That's real freedom, right? They got you in this make-believe freedom thing that you think you're free because, I got a good job. But what if you lose that job? What if you lose it? Then what you gonna do if you ain't got no assets? It's gonna be tough on you guys. All I'm telling you is let's transfer this 18 trillion to us. And the way we do it is we got to start investing. And the easiest way, in my opinion, right now to start investing is through paper assets, right? ETFs and individual stocks, right? I've already made plenty of videos on what I'm buying, but I'll be more than happy to share it just real quickly with you here. I'm buying an S&P 500 ETF, and the ticker symbol is SPLG. That's what I'm buying. That's my broader stock market ETF, top 500 companies in America in it. And that ETF is tracking the S&P 500 index. You guys know what that is, right? That's the one I talked about earlier that I said hit 5,000 points. Guess where it was in 2022? The low 3,000 range. Less than 2 years ago, guys. Less than 2 years ago. Less than 2 years ago, it was in that 33, 32, 33, 3,400 point range. Now it's over 5,000. Tinkering between 5,000, 49, 5,000, with the expectation that it could go to 5,500 by year end. I don't know how much more I got to explain to you guys. That's how you make money. See, you buy low, you sell high. I buy at 5,000 points. If it goes to 55, I got an option. I can sell it, or I can let it ride to 6,000 points, 6,500 points, 7,000 points. I guarantee you 10 years ago, nobody thought the S&P 500 would hit 5,000 points. Go look 10 years back. Look at all the headlines of what people were saying. Nobody thought the S&P would hit 5,000 points 10 years ago, but it did. I think it's going to go higher. So therefore, I don't worry about, oh, it's at 5,000 points. Isn't it at its peak? Why would I buy it at the peak? Because it ain't at its peak. See, I look at it as the beginning. You might look at it at the peak. I look at it as the beginning. I'm thinking, shoot, this thing gonna go to 7,500 points by the time I'm done in 10 years. I'm getting in right now at 5,000 points because it's gonna go to 7,500 points by 10 years. It might be 8,000 points in 2034. See, that's how I look at it. I'm an optimist. And how can I be an optimist like that? Because I just look at the history. I just look at the history. Go look at the S&P 500 10 years ago. See what it was trading at. Matter of fact, I got my phone right here. Y'all bear with me. Give me a second. Don't go nowhere. Let's see. What was the S&P 500 in 2014? Boy, yo, man, come on. Check this out. The S&P 500, 2058.90. Today is 5,000. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. This is what I'm trying to tell you. It was hovering around 2,100 points in 2014. 10 years later, 5,000 points, 3,000 point jump. So who gonna tell me if I buy 5,000 a day, it ain't got an opportunity to get to 8,000 points in 10 years? Come on, man. I try to tell y'all, this is how you build wealth. With a little patience. Oh, it's too high. No, it ain't. I look at it as the ground floor because I think it's going to go to 8 to 10 by the time 10 years roll around. That's what I believe. So I'm getting in at the ground floor. See, that's what the 1% want you to think, guys. But I guarantee you, they buying right now. I guarantee you they are. I guarantee you the 1% buying right now. But we sitting over here, oh, isn't that the wrong time to buy when it's at the all-time high? Why would I want to buy it when it's too high? I want to wait till it's 3,000 points. Guys, we are missing a beautiful forest for the trees. we are missing a beautiful forest for the trees. Forget the trees. Look at the forest. Forget where it's at today. Think about where it's going to be tomorrow. That's what you should be thinking about. Forget where it's at today. Think about where it's going to be in 10 years. I just gave it to you guys. 10 years ago, it was at 2,000 points. 10 years later, it's at 5,000 points. What do you think it's going to do over the next 10 years? Okay, back to my investment. So, S&P 500 ETF that tracks the S&P 500 index. Why? Because I believe S&P 500 index is going to go from 5,000 points to 8,000 to 10,000 points in 10 years. So guess what happens to my money? Goes up right along with it. So SPLG is my S&P 500 ETF. SPLG, that's the ticker symbol. And my second ETF is going to be FTEC. That's my second ETF, which is a information technology ETF. Love the tech industry. So I want to be in the tech industry with about 30% of my money that I invest. 50% of my money is going to that SPLG. Broader stock market ETF tracks the S&P. 30% of my money is going to FTEC, which is an information technology ETF. That's the ticker symbol. 2023, ROI, 40%. I don't know if it'll repeat that, but pretty good to me. Give me half of that. I'm Gucci. Give me half of that. I don't even need the 40%. Over the next 10 years, just give me 15 to 20% over the next 10 years, and I'm changing the game. I don't even need the 40%. Well, some of y'all might say, well, it hadn't done that over the last 10 years. Oh, yeah, it has. Oh, yeah, it has. Oh, I can prove it to you. Just sit here and sit tight. Sit tight. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to give y'all some receipts. I'm going to give y'all some receipts. Let me see. FTEC, 10-year rate of return. I'm going to just show it to you. I'm going to give y'all some receipts. Some of y'all might think I'm lying. But I'm going to show you. Let me find it. Oh, there it is. There we go. Fidelity, MS, C1, Information Technology Index, ETF, had a return of 5.08% year to date. That's from January 1st to February, whatever we're at today, February, 5%. Not astonishing. Not astonishing. Check this one out, though. And 40.15% in the last 12 months. Okay. Oh, they just had a good year. They can't do that every year. Okay. Let me keep reading here. Over the past 10 years, Fidelity, MS, CI, Information Technology Index ETF had an annualized return of 19.87, outperforming the S&P 500 benchmark, which had an annualized return of 10.44%. Come on, man. There you go. Right there. There go the receipt. I'm giving you the receipts because I don't want nobody down in the comment talking about I made it up. Guys, I'm not a genius. I'm not a professional at this. I just know how to use Google and go find the information. That's all. See, I don't look at that information. Oh, that can't be true. Oh, yeah, it is. It's true. 20% rate of return last 10 years. FTEC. $151 a share. Its competitor, VGT, Vanguard Information Technology, VGT, who I've made a lot of money with, trading at about, over $500 a share. FTEC, 151 a share. 10-year return, roughly the same. Guess what? 1-year return, FTEC outperformed VGT. Go out and look it up. Y'all ain't got to believe me. Go look it up. I'm just telling you guys, if you want to build wealth, I'm giving you the blueprint. But yet and still, people will still be looking like, what? Huh? That's the blueprint. That's all you need to know. What else you need to know? Nothing. Now you just got to get a brokerage account, put some money in it, consistently put money in it, copy my plan. You don't have to. I'm not your financial advisor, but I'm just saying, I just gave you the receipts. Right? I gave you some receipts. That's what all the other YouTubers do. They give you receipts. So I gave you some receipts. Now, whether you're going to listen or not, that's on you. But I just gave you the blueprint, right? No, not the whole blueprint. Here's the last piece of the blueprint. You're going to really like this the last piece. So 50% of my money goes into SPLG, which is the broader based stock market ETF that tracks the S&P 500 index. 50% of my money. 30% of my money goes into FTEC. The last 20% of my money go into the Magnificent Seven. Magnificent Seven, baby. Top 7 companies in the S&P 500, all heavy hitters, all technology companies. Whew. One more receipt. Let me show you this receipt. Let me show you this receipt for the Magnificent Seven. Just in case you think I'm fabricating some stuff. Let's see. 2023 rate of return for the Magnificent Seven. Ooh. Come on, man. Listen, man. Listen to this, guys. The Bloomberg Magnificent Seven total return index advanced 107% in 2023 versus the overall S&P 500 index of 24. Come on, guys. The Magnificent Seven had 107% ROI in 2023. Come on, man. What are we doing here, guys? See, this is what I'm telling you. We ain't got to recreate the wheel. We got a wheel that works perfect right here, and it's called a Magnificent Seven. I'm trying to tell you, man, that wheel, full of air, it's ready to go on a 3,000-mile trip. All you got to do is jump on. Just jump on. It's not going to steer you wrong, in my opinion. Again, not your financial advisor, just giving you receipts. And here it is right there. Go find that article yourself. You think I'm lying? Yep. 107% rate of return. 2023 Magnificent Seven. You might ask, Richard, who's the Magnificent Seven? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to tell you who they are. Apple, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, NVIDIA, Tesla. That be the Magnificent Seven, guys. So let's recap real quick. Let's recap. 50% of my money going in a broad-based stock market ETF. Tracks the S&P 500, SPLG. That's the chosen one for me. 30% of my money going into a information technology ETF because I love the tech market, right? And I love the subset of the tech market, which is information technology. Love it. 30% of my money going in that. That's going to be FTEC. Last 20% of my money going into what? Magnificent Seven. Bingo. Bingo. So let me make sure I got this right. S&P did 24% in 23. FTEC did 40%. Magnificent Seven did 107%. Y'all help me out. I ain't that good with math, but boy, them figures, they seem good. Once again, not saying they'll do that forever. Not saying they'll do it in 24. I'm just giving you what historical track record is. Right? I'm giving S&P 11, 12%, 10-year period. Right? FTEC, 10-year period, a hair under 20% for 10 years. I'm just telling you historically, guys, these investments are proven. But if you ain't got a brokerage account, you ain't gonna put no money in your brokerage account, you ain't gonna be able to buy them. But if you do open a brokerage account, and you guys know I'm rocking with Moo, ain't no shame in my game. I'm rocking with Moo. Link down in the description box. Anybody that wants a brokerage account that they can use to buy these paper assets to get to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, try this one out. That's the one I'm rocking with. All of 24 and beyond, right? I'm rocking with Moo. So if you want up to 15 free stocks from them for just trying the brokerage app, when you put some money in it, they're going to give you up to 15 free stocks. Then guess what? You're ready to copy my plan. Now, again, you don't have to copy my plan, guys. Like I said, I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just telling you what I'm buying, and I'm giving you receipts why I'm buying it, right? I'm giving you receipts. Y'all can see I ain't lying. I ain't lying. I gave you receipts. Go look it up yourself. I just wanted to let you know that if you want to transfer that $18 trillion in wealth from the 1%, this is how we do it. This is how we do it, baby. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to make this money. All right? We're going to get out here and grind and make this money. And then we're going to take that money, not spend it to make the 1% wealthy, but we're going to take that money and put it in these assets. And in 10 years' time, we're going to have a lot of gold in that pot at the end of the rainbow. We're going to transfer a lot of that $18 trillion in wealth to us. We're going to transfer a lot of it to us, but we got to have a plan. And we got to be willing to execute that plan. If you're willing to execute that plan, lock it in with a thumbs up, man. Lock it in with a thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up button if you're ready to transfer that $18 trillion to the 99%. Just lock it in with a thumbs up if you're ready to do that. Right? Also, I want you to lock in with a thumbs up if the 3 investments that I just shared with you that I'm buying all of 2024 and beyond, I want you to lock that in with a thumbs up if you believe that's something you'd like to participate in as well. Again, you don't have to. You do go out and do your own homework and your own research and come up with your own stuff. You're more than welcome to. That's up to you. My blueprint, I already gave you the receipts on my blueprint. I'm not sure how you pass up my blueprint after I gave you all these receipts. I don't know how you pass it up. If you pass up that, you just don't want to build wealth. You just don't want to build wealth. If you pass up what I just went through, if you don't seriously consider that and you say you want to build wealth, you got to examine yourself, man. You got to clean out your filter system because something wrong. I mean, you just don't do returns like this and not multiply money for people. Now, is it 100% guaranteed? No, nothing's guaranteed in this life. I ain't guaranteed to wake up in the morning. Nothing's guaranteed, guys. There ain't no guarantee. Well, can you guarantee it? No. But can somebody guarantee you anything else in this life? No, nobody can guarantee you nothing, man. All I can do is do what? Plan, right? Because if I fail to plan, I plan to fail. That's it, guys. Let me say that one more time. If I fail to plan, here it is, I plan to fail. That's life, guys. So if you want to sit right here and not plan, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. Because if you fail to plan, then the only thing you can expect is to fail. I'm giving you a wealth transfer blueprint that can put you in a position over the next 3, 5, 10 years to build you some wealth. If you're willing to get on the journey. You got to be willing to get on the journey though. Again, nothing's guaranteed. But what is guaranteed in this life? We all know life is not a guarantee, right? We have choices in this life. See, 2 things we can control in this life, guys. 2 things. We can control our attitude and our effort. See, I get to control that every day. My attitude and my effort. I get to control that. I can't control anything, all the things out here in this world, but those 2 things I can control, my attitude and my effort. So here's the situation, and then we'll wrap this thing up. $18 trillion. The 1% have $18 trillion in liquid assets. I'm of the belief, because this is what I read, I don't know this for a fact, 40% of it was accumulated over the last 3 years. I believe that 40% came from us, the 99%. I think they tricked us with these low interest rates. We bought all this real estate that a lot of us now can't pay for. That came from the 1%. They tricked us. They tricked us in 2020 with the stock market. When it crashed 35%, a lot of us freaked out, sold everything, right? A lot of us, oh, the government says you can go ahead and get your 401k and not have to pay the penalty and not. A lot of us took all of our money out of our 401k, depleted it. Why? Because we didn't have to pay the penalty. That was a trap, right? That was a trap. Now, I know some people had to because they were on hard times and they got to do what they got to do. I get it. But a lot of us pulled that money out of them 401ks and retirement accounts so we could buy stuff, knowing we wouldn't have to pay no taxes on it. That's what a lot of us did, if we're honest with ourselves. A lot of us took that 401k money because we could get at it without paying any taxes, without paying any penalties, I meant to say, without paying penalties. So a lot of us did that. But that was a trap. That was a trick of the 1%, right? So they got us on the real estate. They got us on the stock market in 2020 and 2022. They got us on the stock market in 2022 as well. Big time. So I think over the last 3 years, they took, I think 40% of that 18 trillion, guys, belong to us. We need to take that back. We need to take that 40% of that 18 trillion back. And boy, I ain't that good at math. So let me get the calculator. I want to know exactly what we need to be taking back. So 18 times 40%. Okay. That's about 7 trillion they took from us. They took 7 trillion from us, guys. We got to take that 7 trillion back because they took it from us in the last 3 years. Right? Smoke and mirrors, propaganda machine, selling us real estate at inflated prices because they gave us low interest rates. That's how they tricked us. That's how the 1% sold all that real estate after the pandemic and they cashed out on that pandemic real estate boom. That's how they tricked us though. See, they wanted to cash out. Don't raise them interest rates yet, Fed. You better not raise them interest rates. You better keep them interest rates low till we get rid of this real estate. Then you raise it. Then we pull the rug from under them. Then we rug pull them. That's what they did. That's what they did. They rug pulled us. They went to the Fed and said, you better not raise those interest rates yet. Let's get this real estate out of our portfolio first. At the inflated price, give them the low rate, they'll buy it. Guess what we did? We bid. Now all of a sudden, 1.1 million of us can't pay our mortgage. You know that ain't the 1%, guys. That's the 99%, that 1.1 million. That's the 99%. Can't pay our mortgage now. They rug pulled us. They rug pulled us in 2020 on the stock market, fake stock market crash. They rug pulled us on that. Y'all know how in the world the stock market gonna crash 35% in a couple weeks and then 57 days later at an all-time high? Come on, man. Y'all know that was a rug pull, right? That's all that was. They tricked us. I know we were in the middle of the pandemic. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not making light of the pandemic. I'm just saying, guys, how in the world could it crash 35% and in 57 days, it's at all-time highs again? And we still in the pandemic. Now, see, this is what I'm trying to tell y'all, guys. This is how these people operate. This is how they operate. And then they rug pulled us again in 22. Fed start jacking them rates. Remember I told y'all earlier, when rates go up, stock market goes down. They rug pulled us in 22. Because see, a lot of us started selling our positions in the, that's where part of our 7 trillion came from, was in 22 when we started liquidating and selling. We started selling our investments. They rug pulled us in 22. They rug pulled us in 2020. They rug pulled us in 2021 with the real estate. I'm just saying, that's where the 7 trillion came from. That's how they got us out of 7 trillion. We got to take that back. The only way we can take that 7 trillion back is if we do what? We got to invest now. We got to start getting back into getting our assets back together again. Right? We got to start buying these assets. We got to create some side hustles. We got to increase our skill sets so we can become more valuable to the marketplace and we can make more money. We got to do all of that. If we do all of that, we'll get our 7 trillion back. I think we can get it back in a matter of a couple of years, right? We could probably, maybe 3 years, we can get that 7 trillion back and get back onto a solid foundation. Right now, our foundation is on sand. We got to get on concrete. Only way we get away from that sand and get on that concrete is we got to buy some assets. I just gave you my blueprint. You can follow it. You don't have to follow it. But you better get a blueprint. You better get a game plan. Because I'm going to get my portion of that 7 trillion back. I don't know about you. I'm getting my portion back. I'm getting mine back. I'm going to get it back. And it starts right now with these assets I just walked you through. Right? Well, guys, if you want up to 15 free stocks from Moo, you got to click on that link down in the description box. Open up that Moo account today. Go get that free stock. Go get that free money. Come join me on this wealth transfer in 2024. I've already gave you my 3 assets I'm buying. You're welcome to copy my plan and rock with me if you want. If you don't want to rock with me, that's okay too. I appreciate you stopping by the video and tapping in. Before y'all get out of here, I need y'all to lock it in with a thumbs up if you appreciate the content. I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I love interacting with y'all this way. That's why I love doing the live streams. I get that instant interaction with y'all. So if you don't mind, lock it in with a thumbs up. Let me know you appreciate the content. And again, guys, I'm a glass half full guy. I'm not a glass half empty guy. I'm an optimist. I believe in building wealth, and I know the wealth is there. And I just walk you through what we need to do to take our 7 trillion back. If you're rocking with me to get that 7 trillion back, lock it in with a thumbs up, man. If you want the 7 trillion back that the 1% owe us, lock it in with a thumbs up before you get yourself out of here. Lock that thing in, and then let's get to work. Let's get to work. Let's get this money. Let's go get this money. It's rightfully ours. That $7 trillion belongs to us. We got to go get it, though, through investing. We got to use their own tricks against them. The same way they fleeced us out of the 7 trillion, we're going to fleece them out of the 7 trillion and get it back. Through investing, though. Through being disciplined, consistent, and patient. And we're going to get that 7 trillion back. And we're going to build some more too. So lock it in with a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Thoughts become things. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. You guys keep chasing your greatness. Never stop believing in yourself. Stay healthy, get wealthy, and I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.